Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Sean's Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate everybody that tunes in, that hits the like button, leaves a comment, that's subscribing to the channel. Thank you all so much. You guys are the best. I love being part of the horror community. And speaking of the horror community, I've got one of my favorite people from the community back with me today. Welcome back, Isaiah from The Bitter Wolf. Isaiah, thanks for joining, man.
Hey, yes, of course. And my dog Judy is here as well, licking
Yeah,
my hand and trying to get me to pet her.
that's okay. I mean, sometimes we get the wolf. Today we get Judy. That works perfect.
Yes, she's friendlier.
That's good to know. I won't get any shit from Judy. So Isaiah and I today, we're going to be continuing on with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We talked about the first one back in, I think it was October of last year. And if I remember correctly, we both gave that first one a 10. We both think that first one's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
this is going to be fun to get into this one and talk to you about part two here today. But before we do, and you and I are eventually going to get through this whole franchise, but I'm just kind of curious, a little question for you before we get started. What would you like to see this franchise do next? Do you think we need more Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Do you think we need to
Oh,
start all over again down the road? Should somebody pick up and do a sequel somewhere? What would you like to see from this franchise?
I think you need to ask me that again when we're done with the whole
Okay.
thing, because I've only seen these first two several times and 2003, but I haven't seen the
Okay.
other ones multiple times enough to know like how I feel about the franchise as a
Okay.
whole solidly. I know very strongly how I feel about these two. But I will say, in turn, like my first impression when you asked that was kind of how you feel is like, yes, always remake things. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
I feel that way about Texas Chainsaw. I love slashers. I love chainsaws. I love
Yeah.
movies that take place in the South.
Right.
So I think that I think it gives me a lot of comfort watching these movies for many, many reasons.
Yeah.
Um, so I say just keep making them. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yep, I agree with you. I would be perfectly fine if they kept doing it. I would like to see them do a little better than what Netflix did, but we'll get into that one some other time.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
so yeah, we'll talk Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Real quick tagline for the film: After a decade of silence, the buzz is back. Brief synopsis: A radio host is victimized by the notorious cannibal family, while a former Texas marshal hunts them down. Film was released October 22nd of 1986, directed by L. M. Kit Carson, produced by Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, cinematography by Richard Corris, edited by Alan, I believe that's Jackowitz, music by Toby Hooper and Jerry Lambert, distributed by Canon, releasing 101-minute runtime, budget of about 4.5 million, box office of 8 million. Let's stop there, as I tend to do, and kind of get your thoughts on the story for this film,
Okay.
cinematography, score, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, the story the story is quite simple. Actually, when you really think about the things that actually happened in this,
Yeah,
and I kind of like it. I like the idea of, because in the very first film, they're out on this remote farm. They're in a house, and it's a tiny little
right,
house. I love the idea that this because whenever she escapes, you feel like she's safe, even though she's traumatized.
yeah,
But they're still there at the house. He's not going to go anywhere swinging that
right,
thing all the way down the highway.
right,
So the idea that they're traveling out into a place like Dallas, the Dallas area, the metro
yeah,
area, that's pretty disturbing. So I think that that concept is interesting. I love the idea of them going into the radio station and then following them over into that enormous underground insane
yeah,
place at the end.
right.
So I think that, but the story, I don't know. I don't know what they're just searching. He's just like,
Yeah,
it's like revenge, and it's like
right.
it's not a super strong story, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the story has got some good points. I don't mind, like you, I like the fact that we see them branch out and we're not in just this little house anymore. Um, I like the idea that, okay, there was this ranger that was, family of Sally and Franklin, and now he's out for revenge and looking for them. I'm fine with that. Um,
Yeah.
there's some other things about the story that okay. But
Yeah.
the whole idea of it, as simple as it is not bad. I don't think,
Right.
other than some of the music that we hear during the radio station time, I don't really think the score or soundtrack is that big a deal. I mean, it's fine, and I don't dislike it. I just don't think it really stands out as being amazing. Um, the cinematography and things like that, I think, are hit and miss. There's times when I think it's really good in this film, times when maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie, I feel like this movie, gosh, I don't want to get too much into my overall opinion of it. I feel like this movie had some potential. I just don't know if it
Yeah.
met its potential. We'll start with that. Yeah.
Well, I have to say the cinematography. Well, I have some points about each of these, but I think I'll bring them
Sure.
up as we go along through the movie.
Okay.
I'll touch on some specific things about it, but I do like the cinematography overall. I think there's some really good colors in this, and I think there's some really cool shots and
Mhm.
some really grand scale sets, of course, which look really cool. And of course, there's just some great individual shots, which I'll highlight later,
Yeah.
which are helped by some really good performances by people like Dennis Hopper, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Interesting
the
performances.
score, yeah, I mean, there's some good songs in the soundtrack, like the opening scene, for example. They use the Oingo Boingo song while they're driving along, and
Yeah.
it's just that scene is fantastic. But we'll talk about this stuff. Uh,
Yeah. I
yeah,
will mention. So, I've only seen this movie all the way through twice, and once just recently for you and I to do this. Now, I've seen parts of this
yeah,
movie multiple times, but sitting down and
yes.
actually watching it from beginning to end, this was just the second time I've ever watched the full film like this. Um, but I saw part of it, gosh, I want to say a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and that song, the Goo Goo Muck. I completely forgot that song was in this
Yeah,
movie,
me
because
too.
now
I love it.
now if I hear part of this song, I'm like, oh, that's the song Wednesday dances to in the Netflix series,
Yeah,
and then I'm like, oh shit, it
yes.
was in this movie way before that. So yeah,
Oh
kind of
yeah, and then also everyone, go shameless plug for the Bitter Wolf. Go check out the Bitter Wolf Instagram because he has a little reel where he dances to the Goo Goo Muck too, so you can
that's
go watch
awesome.
that.
Somehow I've missed that, but now I've got to go find it as soon as we're done. I don't know how I missed it.
Yes.
You mentioned performances earlier. Cast for the film, I'm just going to name a few names: Dennis Hopper, Caroline Williams, Jim Sadow, Bill Moseley, Bill Johnson. Um, Give me your thoughts on the cast and the characters for this one.
Brilliant cast, I think. Like the perfectly cast, I think. Um, this is one of maybe Bill Moseley's best performance ever. I don't know. I was watching him and I was like, he has to be one of the best, if not the best performance in this movie. He's just
Yeah,
totally unhinged, and he's actually scared me more this time than the first time I watched it.
yeah,
Like he's legitimately scary in this movie, I think.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like when he's
He's out
sitting
there.
there picking at his head with that thing and he's
I
eating it,
know.
and like
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just wrong. And it's and
So
he's
gross.
like, and he's got that wig on, the Sonny Bono wig, and
Yeah.
he's saying music is my life, and it's so crazy, and he's just
Yeah.
really disturbing. So I think that Bill Moseley to me is a standout, and of course Dennis Hopper is totally unhinged in this movie too. He's just like, I think of him
Yeah.
with those two chainsaws,
I
and
know.
it's just wild. Um, so I think both of them to me are and of Caroline Williams. Like, what an amazing performance too. I mean, she's just
Yeah.
screaming. Can anyone scream like that?
I
And
know.
I mean, and of course it might get annoying after a while, but it's still like you gotta admire how impressive that is, how difficult that is to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just really impressed by this cast. Now, Bill Johnson, I think he did a good job as Leatherface. Is this my favorite? I think that's more of a story issue that because I think he portrayed what he was supposed to
What he was
very well.
given. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the fact that it's kind of goofy is more of a story thing.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I agree with you. I think Bill Moseley steals the show because he's absolutely amazing in this. He's very, the character is very uncomfortable. Yeah. It could be terrifying. I agree. Caroline Williams is fantastic in this movie. I think Jim Sadow is really good in this film. Um,
Oh God, yes, thank you,
yeah, he's
Jesus
outstanding. No, you're
Christ.
good. Yeah,
He
he's
just chews it
fantastic.
up. It's crazy. I'm like,
He does.
They gave him like triple the number of lines in this movie, and it was like every single line delivery was perfect.
Yeah, he's great. I don't think Dennis Hopper is bad, so I don't want to make it sound like that. I just, because his character is unhinged as well, for some reason it didn't work for me as well. I kind of found his character, I mean, Bill Moseley's character is silly, but he's also like crazy and uncomfortable and scary. Whereas Dennis Hopper's character, I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, this guy's unhinged too. And what the hell? Like when he's testing out his chainsaws and he's just, beating the shit out of the wood with them, basically. I'm like, yeah.
But see, that's what makes it so funny, because he's beating the shit out of like you said, beating the shit out of the wood, double entendre. And then the old man behind him is like getting off or something. He's like, he literally says, what did he say? He said, I wrote it down. Hold on, let me find this.
It's funny because that old man.
He says, "Oh, my aching banana."
Yeah, and it is funny because he does seem to start with. It almost seems like he's a little worried and concerned, and then he just really gets into it. He's having a blast.
He's like, "Hey, what's this?" And then he says, "Oh, my aching banana," and I'm like, "What the?" That scene is just totally wild. Yeah, it's so really out there. But I think you brought up a good point though about Dennis Hopper, because I started thinking in the last part of it, like, does his character really need to be in this movie? Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that don't work for me about this, and we'll kind of get into it as we go. But just a couple of real quick production notes before we actually get into the plot. I don't feel like I have a whole lot here, and most of it with this movie being, as old as it is, I'm sure people already know. But development for the film actually began in 1981, following a theatrical re-release of the original that did really well. But there were multiple delays with the script and just getting certain things done. Hooper ended up hiring, but with the emphasis on dark comedy. Cannon, who distributed the film, was expecting a straightforward horror film, but Hooper wanted comedy because he felt there were comedic elements in the first film that were unacknowledged by audiences and critics. I guess I'm one of those that doesn't acknowledge them because, we just watched this movie not that long ago. And I mean, maybe we talked about the Franklin character, so we don't have to get into that again, but maybe that was supposed to be comedy, but I just don't see the comedic elements in this film. In the first film, I really don't. So I don't know what was there that Hooper wanted people to see that they weren't seeing. Any thoughts from you?
In the first film, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in the first film. Did you see any comedic elements there?
I mean, like you said, there's definitely some funny stuff with Franklin. But there's also like with Grandpa doing the hammer thing, there's extremely, and when you say dark humor, we're talking extremely dark humor.
Yeah.
And you get some of that in this movie too. There's some extremely dark stuff going on. That's also played for laughs. So I think probably that could be taken as a humorous thing, but definitely this one is way more in your face with the humor.
Yeah, I guess that first film, it just had such a terrifying feeling that it was easy to overlook maybe some of the comedy that they tried to throw in there a little bit, but it was dark, as you said. Gunnar Hansen was approached to return as Leatherface. Hansen claimed that he was offered an amount that was way too low. One of the producers dispute that claim. They say that Hansen never would commit. He was back and forth, and they got tired of waiting, so they just withdrew the offer and went elsewhere. Not sure what the truth is there. Probably somewhere in the middle. That normally seems to be where the truth is. Bill Moseley had created a short film called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in which he played the hitchhiker. A tape of this got seen to Hooper, who absolutely loved it, and decided immediately that if he ever did a sequel, he wanted Moseley in it. And so when he put this together, he contacted Moseley for the role of Chop Top. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, kind of interesting.
That's amazing.
I didn't know this Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing existed. I wish I could find it somewhere. I'd like to see what Moseley was doing.
That's so cool. But that's also just tells you, like, as a creative person, you don't need to like sit there and think like you have to go down a specific path in life. Like you have to go to school and you have to go do this and that, and you have to go to Hollywood and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, just show someone or just do something and throw it out there. You literally never know what could happen. Right. And then he becomes Bill Moseley. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's really all I've got as far as any production notes. So we will get into the plot now and start to go through this and break this movie down a little bit. Opening of the film, we get a narration similar to what we got in the first film, just done a little bit differently. Basically, talking about that there's nothing on record of the attacks from the first film, but Sally told her story. Police kind of tried to dismiss it when they couldn't find anything, and then a bunch of bizarre events continued. And then we get with these two guys driving down the highways. They're shooting signs. They play chicken with this pickup. Call a radio station where they annoy the DJ. We get introduced to Stretch. That evening, they end up calling her back. Same truck arrives, and then we get Leatherface emerging from the back of the truck, sawing up the car, killing these guys. That's kind of how we get this film going. Share with me your thoughts on the opening of this film.
So it's similar to my thoughts about the opening of Black Xmas 2006. Which is they tell you in no uncertain terms that this is going to be a very different movie from the original. And they do it by, first of all, with the intro scroll, which is, in my opinion, so long that it's comical. Like, I started to wonder, Judy, can you go over there? I was like, it's so long that it's comical. And in fact, he has to read faster as it goes along in order to catch up before it disappears. And at the very end, it says it seems to have no end is the very last words that you read. So I'm like, okay, is this some sort of like they're giving us a hint here that this is going to be something different? And then they immediately shoot the sign. They're going through and tearing everything down, and then we see this insane scene unfold. I have to say that they annoyed the shit out of me, those two guys.
Yeah, very annoying.
And I was like, yes, Caroline. I was like, please get them to hang up. But what that does is it gives you someone you want to die.
Sure.
And you're like, and so this is like a very 80s thing. So to me, it shows you the difference between the original and this. The tone is so different with the dark and the comic. The decade is different with the 70s and the 80s, and the 80s vibes are much different from 70s horror vibes in general. So I think that it's a pretty good thing. And we talked about it in 2006 too. You're like, how could you ever reboot? No, this isn't a reboot. This is a sequel. So I think maybe that's why it might not get as much mileage. But I think maybe that's what Hooper is thinking, like just tear down because there's no point in continuing of that because it's perfect.
Right.
I don't want to impose that on him, but I just read it that way.
That's a decent, that's a good way to look at it, because I wondered what Hooper was thinking a little bit, just because that first one was such a classic and such a masterpiece and so highly revealed. Why go back and do something like this? But no, you might be right. That may be the way he was looking at this. And I agree. The two guys are absolutely insane. They're so annoying. So annoying. Maybe more annoying than the first film. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Buzz and what was his name?
Oh, gosh, I didn't think I didn't even write their names down.
Rick the Prick.
Yeah. That's it. Leatherface different here also. I mean, he's Leatherface, but you just kind of get just more craziness right off the bat. So I agree with you. We're really setting the stage to let you know that this is a completely different film. And the scene where Leatherface finally gets in and cuts half of the guy's head off there at the top, not bad. I mean, it looks okay. I
like that. Skill. I was like, yes, finally, shut him up. But also, he's dancing with that corpse up there while they're driving on the highway. It's so absurd, and it's like, okay, at this point, you have to. It's like you're either going to hate this or you're really going to enjoy it. I think that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you pretty much know right off the bat what you're getting into there. And then from there, we get introduced to Dennis Hopper's character, the former Texas Ranger Lefty. As he arrives at the crime scene, we find out that he is the uncle of Sally and Franklin from the first film. Police don't seem to be too involved or happy that he's involved, and he finally does it to kind of make a deal, though, that he wants this put in the paper. Stretch ends up getting in touch with him and bringing him a copy of the audio and wanting him to listen to it. To start with, we don't really think he will, but we then cut to Stretch and LG. We kind of get an introduction to him. They're covering the Texas Oklahoma chili cook-off, and there we get Drayton. He wins the cook-off and talking about the secret is the meat that he's required, gotten an eye for prime meat that runs in his family. So again, just really giving us different versions of a lot of these characters than what we got in the first film. I liked Stretch. LG was all right, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, you can't listen. You can't hate on LG, okay? Because that poor soul had to take more than anybody else in this movie.
That is 100% true. He definitely goes.
And he didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, nothing. So yeah, you got to feel for him a little bit there. But yeah, we already talked about how great Caroline Williams was and how great the Drayton Sawyer character is here. I will say the only thing that I got from kind of this part of it a little bit, other than just seeing, we're going someplace with this movie. I wasn't too impressed with the Lefty character right off the go here, just to be honest with you, because I almost don't feel like they could decide what kind of person he was throughout this film. Initially you're kind of getting the impression that he's this former Texas Ranger. He's this, he's this tough guy and he wants answers and that kind of thing. And, he wants help. He wants us out there. And then initially when Stretch approaches him, he doesn't want her help. And then at times he seems like he's a tough guy. At times he seems like he's absolutely insane.
He is, yes.
Yeah.
I think he's lost it. Yeah. I mean, honestly, because there's a lot of evidence for this, but I think that, he goes there and at first you think, oh, he's a Texas Ranger. He's a cowboy. He seems trustworthy. But then he immediately says, they live in fear. I ain't got no fear left. This is like one of the very first times you see him, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a red flag. That's like, I have nothing left to live for. That's almost like, oh, this guy needs some help. So then you see him again and he's drinking himself. He's like got these huge bags under his eyes and he's drinking straight from the bottle. So he's obviously depressed from whatever, probably what happened to Franklin or whatever, because that was his brother, know? And so I think maybe he's just having a psychological breakdown because he turns into this iconoclastic crazy guy who can't help Caroline Williams at all. And he just goes in there and literally she's the reason she gets stuck in there in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
And then he goes in and does it. I mean, he sets her free at one point, but it's almost incidental. Like his main goal is to tear everything down.
Yeah, just tear it all up. So yeah, I guess Dennis Hopper is a fantastic actor, but I wasn't a fan of this Lefty character. I feel like he was all over the place too much. And even you mentioned he was talking about how he doesn't have any fear in him, and that's his thing. But then later in the movie, he's like basically talking to God, and he's like, go ahead and show me what I'm afraid of so I won't be afraid of it anymore. Like, he does have fear, obviously. So he's just, this Lefty guy's all over the place. I was not a fan of Lefty.
Listen,
love Dennis Hopper, I'm not a fan of Lefty.
Alcoholics live in denial, so maybe that's what's going on here.
I guess
he thinks he's defeated his fear, but he needs to be blown up by a grenade to truly face it.
I guess you're right, yeah. Because then we get Lefty buying these chainsaws. We were talking about that. He goes in and buys these chainsaws and just goes crazy with them, testing them out. And we talked about the old man watching him
get in his aching banana.
Yeah, aching banana. Just more craziness. Lefty seems to now have a change of heart because now he goes to Stretch and he wants her to play this tape over the radio. And get more people to hear it, that kind of thing, hoping that maybe the cops will start to believe him as well. And he believes that the killers are nearby. So he wants help here. So Drayton is driving home. He gets a phone call and finds out about the tape. And so then we get Chop Top and Leatherface going to the radio station. And we get some interaction between Chop Top and Stretch for a while before Leatherface shows up. LG comes back. He has a battle with Chop Top while Leatherface is dealing with Stretch. All kinds of things going on in this scene. Let's talk about the radio station a little bit. Give me your thoughts about Chop Top and then, just everything that's taking place here in this radio station between Chop Top and Stretch initially. He's pretty terrifying here, I think. And like you said, he's got what looks like a hanger where he's like getting off pieces of his scalp and eating it while he's talking to her. So gross.
Stop.
It's gross. And he's disturbed. So very creepy. And then, like I said, Leatherface comes out of nowhere. And so then Chop Top ends up beating up LG with a hammer, which I didn't feel like LG was putting up much of a fight, but maybe he couldn't. We got Leatherface and Stretch and what's going on. Chainsaw. So, your thoughts on all this radio station stuff?
I think the radio station is my favorite sequence in the movie because it starts out, or this part of the radio station when they show up. Because it starts out with a pretty good jump scare, actually, whenever Leatherface enters. First you have the tension built up because of Chop Top's creepy, the dread-filled scene where he's picking at his head and everything. And first of all, you're like, well, what's he picking at? We don't know yet. We don't know there's a plate there and all that. We don't know why he has a hanger and all that. You've never seen anything like that. He looks weird. He sounds weird. He's creepy. All this stuff. And he's also very charismatic at the same time, so you know that he's smarter than he seems, which makes him especially more terrifying.
Definitely scarier. Right.
Yes, he gets all up in your face like Judy.
Yes, he does.
But yes. So anyway, when Leatherface got there, I loved that part because it said, what was the line?
He's talking about the classics back there,
yeah. And they say it's the new music, and then he comes out with his entrance. So that's another sign of like this is the new decade. This is the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the new Leatherface. All that stuff. Bubba. It's the new music. So anyway, and so she runs behind a door and shuts herself in the same way behind the same exact door as in the first movie that Leatherface slammed shut himself. So it's pretty interesting, but she's the one who slams it shut this time, and leaves him out there.
Yeah,
so I find that pretty. That's pretty interesting. But another shot I forgot I wanted to mention before, whenever we were first meeting, not when we were first meeting Stretch, but it's whenever she first realizes something's off. It's whenever Bill Moseley calls. Or I assume it's Bill Moseley, calls and there's no answer because they're making sure she's there or something. And then she hears the clattering. So it's right at that moment, whenever, right before the clattering happens, the song says you could get away with murder. Then
I didn't catch that. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I just caught that the first time, so it was pretty good. I like details like that.
Yeah, that's very cool.
The LG hammer, to me, it's so it reminds me of the hammer in the first one where he smacked him in the head and he goes down and shakes. But this one is even more brutal. I mean, it's over the top in its brutality, but to me, the dude's performance is realistic. Because think about it, if you get hit in the hammer once, hit in the head with a hammer one time, you are going down. There's no fighting back against this. And if it happens again, and this has happened like 150,000 times.
Oh, yeah, he just keeps doing it,
And he's doing this because it's like a reflex at this point. So I think it's just horrifying because he's like disabling this guy. Now, the fact that he gets up later and is walking around perfectly fine is so stupid. But this part to me is terrifying.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And this is actually my favorite scene of the movie. I'm with you 100% because even the scene where she first comes out and she's looking around because she's heard these noises and stuff that you're talking about. Even I really like the shot we get where we see Chop Top for the first time and he's just sitting there on a couch. He's just even that scene I think is really good. I like the way they shot that. And again, he's coming across, like you said, he's very creepy, but you could also tell there's some intelligence there. Leatherface's jump scare is good. And you made a good point. I'll back off my thought about LG not fighting back much because I see what you're saying. He probably couldn't. I was just watching like the hands movement and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, dude, do something. But I guess he probably couldn't. You're right. So
no, I think it's a spasm. Like it's like I have no control anymore.
What's funny is Chop Top even mocks him a little bit because he does that at one point,
Yeah.
a little bit there.
Yep.
So again, just you
And
can
that
see
makes
how
it so much
demented,
worse. Yeah.
yeah, how demented he is. So I do really like that scene as well. Um, what's your take on Leatherface and Stretch up there, and Leatherface with the chainsaw?
I mean, it's really over the top. The symbolism, it's really in
Yeah,
your face, you know.
very much so. Yeah,
So like we know exactly what that is,
right.
uh, but and it is terrifying, by the way. Just imagine like sitting there with that chainsaw,
Yeah,
uh, you know, like right up
right.
next to your
Yeah,
genitals. That's a horrifying prospect. Now, when that scene stops being tense, is when it kind of goes into some absurdity.
yeah.
Like when she starts being like no good, no bad. Like it's
No,
kind of
which
inconsistent with how
it
you
really
can
is.
control him.
And to be honest with you, I think that's part of what bothered me about it. I mean, I get what they were
Yeah.
doing, and I do think in the
Yes.
beginning, even though yes, it's very heavy-handed, you know what's happening, but I
Yeah.
do think they were doing a good job initially of also making it horrifying at
Yeah.
the same time. And
Yes.
then and I get what she's trying to do, she's trying to manipulate him and that kind of thing, but it it got so absurd to me that it took away a little bit from the horror aspect of it first. So
Yeah.
it started off great. I was like, come on, a little bit there with it. But again, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what this movie does, honestly. I mean, this movie gets absurd. So,
Sure. Sure.
they were just continuing on with what they were doing. But this radio station, the overall part of it is definitely my favorite scene of this entire movie. Um, Leatherface finally ends up letting her live. He comes down and he kind of lets Chop Top, makes Chop Top believe that he killed her. And so they end up then taking LG with them, and Stretch decides to follow, which makes no damn sense to me. Why she would follow at all. I would think you would be going to the
No.
cops. You would be trying to find Lefty. You would do something, not follow these two guys with everything you just went through with Leatherface. And
Yeah.
now you're just going to follow them by yourself? No sense. No sense
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I mean, I think it makes sense when you consider this is what Caroline Williams characters have to do. So in Hatchet, her character does the same exact thing.
True.
So
Yeah, I
it's
guess
just
that's
what her characters have to do.
and I love Caroline Williams and I like the Stretch character. I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, what are you doing? But yeah, I think I love this movie, the first movie, so much, and I think it's so scary and so terrifying and so uncomfortable that I'll be completely honest, I have a little bit of a hard time with the humor of this film. I really do. There's some funny moments there, but it's just so different. And I know they wanted it to be different, but I don't know that it works for me. It almost frustrates me at times a little bit. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We get to
I
take
mean,
a look at
you're not the only person who feels that way. You know, I've talked to
yeah.
some people who are so passionate about it that they say this is not a horror movie at all. This is, this is a shame to the franchise. So like there's definitely passionate opinions about
Yeah, there's
about
not. I
that.
don't feel like this movie has a lot of middle ground for people. People either seem to love it or they hate it. I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
talked to anyone that's like, "Oh, it's okay." Yeah, it. People either really
it's
love this,
true.
they
It's
love the
true.
absurdity of it, they love the dark comedy, they love Chop Top, which I love Chop Top as well. They just love
Yeah,
so much of it, and then there's other people that are like, "This is so fucking ridiculous. It's just not
yeah,
working." So,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
um,
and I think that the people who really love it, we do have to admit that the story, there's not much of a story, and we also have to admit the things that you don't like about it. Like for example, oh, that light just died.
no, you're just
Can you
blue
see
now, but we
me?
can still see you. Yeah.
I could change the color so that it's a different color. But what was I saying? I forgot now. What
We were
were we
talking
talking
about the
about?
people that even that like this movie still had to admit some of the flaws, is what you had
Oh
said.
yeah, yeah. Like of course, and like one of the things that I don't like is whenever they just repeat some of the stuff that happens, like
Yeah,
the hammer scene with Grandpa. I don't really think that added anything necessarily, you know. So some of the stuff that's just like repeated from the
right.
first movie didn't really hit for me in terms of humor. Like you can't use that twice as a gag, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I
And
could
I
see that.
almost feel like they tried, and we'll kind of get to it more when we get to that scene because they also do a dinner scene here. It's just a little bit more absurd than the dinner scene in the first film. And bringing in Grandpa again, it's the same gag. They maybe tried to do a little more with it, but on the absurdity side, because in the first scene, even though it's Grandpa's struggling, it's still pretty scary. I don't feel like it was scary here. It was just silly. So
No, it was
yeah,
no. I didn't care. I actually was hoping that Grandpa would we would get to see him get killed because he's so like to me he's in the first movie he's so gross, you
right.
know, and he's so disturbing to me in the first movie. In this
Yeah,
movie, I'm just like, can we finally just be rid of this guy?
yeah.
I'm so over it, you know.
No, I'm
Like
with you there.
he's just
And, hey, there you go.
hey.
You got some light back. You're not blue anymore.
I actually found a thing for it. Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So yeah, then we get to take a look at the Sawyer's lair here, which is absolutely insane. This place that they've
Wow.
got set up with that's underground. I can't decide what I think about their lair, to be honest with you. In some ways, I'm like, this is a really cool setting, and in other ways, I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So I'm kind of there in the middle on this lair for
Wait.
them.
Wait a second, Sean. Okay, I'm gonna challenge you again because you're from Texas.
Absolutely.
So you should
I'm
know
from
that shit like
Oklahoma.
this. You should know that this shit truly exists somewhere in Texas. Like you know, there's a place called Texas Battleland that's like this massive like football field, and then it has an underground bunker. You know that exists somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy that it exists. So to
But
see
that's
it
what I
doesn't
mean.
help me.
That's to me. That's why it works as like social satire or something. You know,
Yeah,
because it's
maybe so.
like
I don't know if it exists with Christmas lights. Why the fuck are there Christmas lights down there? Explain that part to me. Like, okay, maybe places like this do exist, but do they have Christmas lights?
I mean, I don't know. I grew up in a trailer park. Trailer parks have Christmas lights all year long, you know? It
Okay.
seems to me like this is like Rob Zombie trailer park aesthetic, you know? It's like all the trappings of tacky Americana get thrown into this
Just
underground
one.
lair.
All
And
right.
it's also like I guess it's not actually plugged in. I thought it was.
Oh, you're good.
Um, but it's also just like he keeps talking about this is Nomland, this is Nomland, and
Yeah.
there's like skeletons riding around on bombs in this lair and everything too.
Yeah.
So I think there's some comment, like we said, there's a pretty heavy-handed social commentary in this one.
Sure.
There is in the first one too. It's
Right.
more heavy-handed here. It's more 80s esque, I think, because I think
Yeah,
the
I
80s
think
were
you're right.
like society is extremely heavy-handed with social satire, you know. So maybe I'm reading too much into it too.
No, I think you're probably right. I think it's there. And like you said, it's in the first film too. It's just a little more heavy-handed here, but I think I just don't like the way it's done here because it is there and it is heavy-handed. But then when you try to put the dark comedy on top of it, I don't know. For some reason, it just doesn't work for me as well. But
Yeah. Okay.
you know, we're at the lair here. We've got Stretch, and then Lefty, of course, shows up. And as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of Lefty's fault that Stretch ends up falling and getting down in here and stuck with these guys anyway. So Lefty continues to be fucked up and all over the place. And then when he does go in, like you said, his whole purpose is to use his chainsaws to just bring everything down, tear it all up, which okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's fine. It is what it is. We get another fairly disturbing scene then, I feel like, because then we get back to LG. And, you know, Leatherface is like skinning his face. Stretch is hiding down there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Leatherface is like skinning LG's face for the most part. He ends up finding Stretch and like putting that actually face on her and then dances around with her,
yeah.
which is pretty disturbing and creepy, that whole thing. And because we know Leatherface apparently likes to dance from the first movie. When he's dancing with his chainsaw, this made sense to me that this is what was happening. So I'm
Right.
okay here, but I do think this seems pretty dark as well. And then, like you said, once Leatherface takes off, now suddenly, even though he's been beaten hundreds of times with a hammer and got his face cut off, LG is able to get up and kind of walk around for a few minutes. And although there is a shot there where he's got that knife and he's trying to cut the rope for Stretch,
oh god,
you almost think he's going to stab her for a minute.
Yes.
He's struggling, so he's not 100% for sure, but he is able to cut the rope and save her before, you know, he gives his stupid line, "Looks like I'm falling apart on you, darling," or something like that. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, but then he goes ahead and dies as Stretch tries to get away again. yeah, we get more from the Sawyers doing their thing. They end up seeing Stretch and are kind of chasing her. Lefty ends up finding Franklin's corpse. They're in the
Yep.
in the which I kind of enjoyed seeing because I didn't like Franklin in the first film, so I liked that little reminder that he was dead. You and I talked about Franklin in the first film, not a fan.
Yes.
And then Leatherface ends up catching Stretch again. So, I mean, I know we've kind of summarized everything, but as you've been watching this movie and you've gotten to this point, so we've gone from this radio station scene that, in my opinion, was actually really good, pretty dark, pretty scary, kind of terrifying, to the chaos of what's going on in the lair. What are your thoughts on the movie at this point?
Yeah, the first half is definitely my favorite part. The lair, I think I can enjoy it for if I'm in the dark humor mood, and if I'm in the mood for just watching some crazy performances. But I don't think that there's a lot of stuff that I love in the lair. I do love how it looks because I'm a big fan of that type of thing, like I was describing before. I like that Rob Zombie aesthetic. I think the lighting's really cool. I think there's some good shots. I don't love the chainsaw battle. I do. Let me hand it to Tom Savini. I do love whenever Leatherface has the chainsaw sticking out of him and they're going at it like that. You know, I do love whenever Drayton gets cut up and he goes and hides under the thing. And I love the rip face, the LG face removal, and put it on her face because you can hear it when he's sticking it onto her. You can feel it when she's pushing it back onto him later. And she's just such a brilliant actor in that scene that it's like you can really, that scene is really effective. And I'm glad you brought that up again. That's probably the best part of the lair.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, that's my favorite part of the lair as well because going back, I almost split this movie up. I like the first half of the movie overall, especially the radio station. I'm not a fan of everything that happens in the lair, with the exception of that face scene that you're talking about. I really do like that and the way that's done, and I think Caroline Williams is fantastic there. You said, then we get the dinner scene, we get Grandpa coming back and all of that nonsense going on. Lefty arrives, and like you said, he ends up injuring Drayton. He kind of frees Stretch where she can take off, even though Chop Top takes off after her. We get the chainsaw battle, like you were talking about. Drayton gets injured, and then he ends up using a grenade to just blow everything up, presumably killing himself, Leatherface, Lefty, and Grandpa. And then we get to the finale of the film, where Chop Top has chased Stretch up into this tower, where now they find Grandma. Who just so happens to have a chainsaw in her lap.
I love that chainsaw so sloppily thrown into her lap. And it's full of fluid after, and that's so. And it seems like she's been there for hundreds of years, but it's like, didn't they have to relocate her or something, or was it always here? They just had this. Question. Is this like a vacation home from wherever they were before? That's not clear to me. But Grandma, there's something creepy about Grandma. There's something cute about her. But the chainsaw is kind of, just seems like, it looks like she was 1,000 years old and the chainsaw was brand new, and they just
that's what I was about to say. The chainsaw looks so new, and I'm like, what the hell? Why is it up there? But I guess they like for Grandma to have a weapon, so they brought her in the chainsaw.
Well, because what's his name? Drayton. He goes, what does he say? He prays to Grandma with the chainsaw up in heaven. Oh, great Grandma in chainsaw heaven, and we don't know that it's literally a place
up there in this tower where Grandma's up there with a chainsaw. Yeah, you're exactly.
I mean, that's kind of funny. It is funny when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. No, you're right.
But it's dumb.
Incredibly dumb. And then we get kind of the battle between Chop Top and Stretch before, and how Stretch was able to, because Chop Top was like whipping her with something, like slicing her skin. Which
you're
brutal.
Right.
She's still able to focus on starting this chainsaw. Blows my mind. I mean, she's tough.
That's one thing I love about Stretch, is that she's like super from the very beginning. She doesn't take anyone's bullshit. Like down to when someone's like calls her sweetie or something, she's immediately like, don't call me sweetie. That's like one of the first things she does. And she doesn't take LG's bullshit. She doesn't take Lefty's bullshit. She doesn't take anyone's bullshit. And Lefty literally drops her he tries to help her up with this stupid skeleton. a fragile skeleton, or and so he's totally useless, and because he's so bent on his revenge, And so she's like, I got to do everything myself, and then yes, and Chop Top, you're right, he's going at her back, slashing it up. I forgot about that. That's intense, and she just goes crazy.
Yeah, and then we get to kind of see her once she, gets Chop Top and causes him to fall. Then Stretch gets to do the little dance with the chainsaw, similar to what Leatherface did in the first film. Which, okay, I'm fine with that ending. That wasn't bad. I really liked the Stretch character, and I thought she was great here as well. But yeah, that's how we wrap this one up. So, anything else you want to say about the movie that you wanted to point out that we didn't cover or talk about before we try to rate it?
Let me double check on my notes. I think I got to mention everything. The hammer was the most disturbing kill, in my opinion. We talked about that. Yeah, I think, bring it all down. Oh, there's heavy-handed stuff like sex or the saw,
Yeah.
At some point, Drayton literally says that. I'm like, yes, we get it. But
yeah, they didn't want to let that go without everybody really understanding what they were saying. So yeah,
I understand. Yeah, but no, that's it. I don't have anything else to add. No.
Okay, so that being said, you rated the first one 10 out of 10. We know the overall take on that very first film. What would you rate Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, it's interesting because on a scale of 1 to 5 on Letterboxd, I give it a 5 because it fits all of my horror comedy 80s needs. That's the lens that I watch it through, and as I try to separate as much as I can from the original. Even though they're connected, they're obviously connected. So I understand why people can't. So, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I will rate it lower than the first one because I do much prefer the first one. If you had to pick, make me pick, so I would probably give it an 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you enjoyed this one so much. There are things that I like about this movie. I love the radio station. I love the character of Stretch. I love Chop Top. There's some really, really good things here. I don't like Lefty. I don't like the lair and most of what happens there, with the exception again of what you talked about, the face scene. And I just don't. I mean, again, like you said, I know Bill Johnson. He did what they asked him to do. I just don't like this portrayal of Leatherface. In this movie, Chop Top is scarier than Leatherface, and
certainly,
Jim Sadow comes across creepier than Leatherface. His character of Drayton, like Leatherface is the.
So does Dennis Hopper.
With the exception of the fact that Leatherface has a chainsaw, he doesn't seem that scary in this movie. It's the chainsaw. No. Where he's terrifying in the first film. So it's so hard for me because the first half of the film, I'm like, I'm enjoying this. This is pretty good. And then that second part just falls off so bad. And I feel like I'm normally pretty good at separating things, but I struggle with this. It's not a horrible movie, but it's not a good movie. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I'm just not a fan.
That's better than I thought you were going to give it.
I'll say 4 out of 10. I'm just not a big fan of this one. If it wasn't for, when I go back, because from time to time I like to go back and just revisit franchises and watch them all the way through, whether it's Halloween, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just every once in a while I like to go back and watch them through. If it wasn't for the fact that I really liked Bill Moseley as Chop Top and I really liked the Stretch character, I would probably skip this one and just move on to a different one. And I will say, we'll get to that somewhere down the road. It's not the worst movie in the franchise, but I still don't like it.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of them. Yeah, I've seen all of them, but there's some that were in that era that I've referenced several times where I was drunk all the time, so I don't remember them. So I'll be revisiting a lot of these for the first time. 2003, I remember very well because I've seen it multiple times. I remember 2022 pretty well because it scarred me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I understand why this one scars people too. Like I said, I totally
Right.
anticipate it whenever it comes up. And I wasn't sure because I hadn't seen it in years. This is only my second viewing as well, so
Okay.
I wondered if how it would hit again for me. Uh, no, I've seen it more than that. I forget about the drunk era, so that's like
It's all right. Well, and you
yeah.
mentioned, I guess the one thing that, because I really am glad you enjoy the film as much as you do. I really am. It would be bad if neither one of us liked this. It'd be like we were talking about Black Christmas 2019 again. So I'm glad you.
We had a good conversation though.
We did, yeah. But I really am glad
Yeah.
you enjoyed this film, and I think people that see, I've said multiple times, I'm not a huge fan of horror comedies.
Right.
There are a couple out there that I like, but overall, I'm not a huge fan of horror comedies. If I was a bigger fan of that little subgenre, I might like this movie better. But
Sure.
I feel like with horror comedies, the problem they have is they're either not funny when they're supposed to be, or they're too funny and they take away from the horror. And I feel like this one in the first half of the film does a good job of balancing the two. It does a good,
Right.
there's some funny stuff, but it's still got some pretty terrifying stuff as well. And then in the second half, it's just, it falls over into that this isn't funny to me category. And so it just really hurts the movie overall. But
I can totally see that.
Yeah, that's
no, I
just
totally agree that the humor and the dark humor works much better in the first half, and it's much darker, which as horror fans want to see. You know,
right.
Like to me, I want my dark humor to be as dark. Did you see The Coffee Table?
Yes. Yeah.
So I want it to be as dark as that, and some people don't understand that that's a comedy.
Right. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
So
that's a lot. I got it.
Yeah. So like to me, they have that in the first half of this movie,
right?
Of Texas Chainsaw 2. But yeah, the second half, there's a lot of stupid humor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. So, well, yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing on with this franchise. I'm talking about.
I'm excited.
Texas Chainsaw 3 and some of the other ones with you as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to us getting together and doing that again. And I also still plan, excuse me, I also still plan on having you go through the whole Pooniverse with me, talk, Winnie the Pooh and Bambi and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll be getting together for those as well. But take a minute to, I didn't have you do this at the beginning and I should have, I apologize, but take a minute to promote your channel. And this will actually be, this is going to release on Monday the 12th. So that's what day it is when people are watching this, next Monday. So take a minute to promote your channel and talk about anything that you might have coming up.
Yeah. So I'm Isaiah Swanson. I'm the editor of The Bitter Wolf, and it's a website, YouTube channel. Sorry, Judy's just distracting me a little bit.
All right.
And I'm a dog dad too, to Judy herself. But anyway, yeah. So I'm the founder of The Bitter Wolf, which is a website, YouTube channel we're devoted to promoting independent horror. But also on the website, I have a zine where I publish original horror fiction and nonfiction. On my YouTube channel, I have the Horror Mosaic, which is a project that are video profiles of people in the horror community. I have Cave Chats, where my character, the Bitter Wolf, interviews people, including our good friend Sean here. And here will give us a taste of the wolf himself. So there he is right there. Hello.
We love the wolf.
Yes, we do. So this is my character here. We talk about horror movies, and we have a lot of fun. So yeah. What's coming up soon is Horror Mosaic 37 with Chris Vanderkay, the director of Ask and Found Footage Finds on Found TV. And the Cave Chats with the director not Chris Vanderkay, Chris Wesley Moore, out of Mississippi, who's the director of When the Trash Man Knocks, Children of Sin, Blessed Are the Children, Triggered, and lots of other things. So that's what's coming up next week.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't, I feel like anybody that watches my channel is probably already pretty familiar with Isaiah's stuff, but if not, definitely go check it out. Some really good stuff, always entertaining, good interviews. The wolf is hilarious when you watch the Cave Chats. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. Definitely go check out Isaiah. Follow him on social media as well. Trying to think of what I've got coming up here. The rest of this week, Brendan from Our Life in Horror is going to be on with me 2 episodes. this week.
Ooh.
He's going to be back. We're going through the Scream franchise, and we're trying to get through it before the new one comes out. So we're going to be talking about Scream 3 later this week. We just did Scream 2. And then he's going to be back then within a couple of days from that, because we're also going through, like you and I went through Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Brendan and I are going through Scream and Candyman, and Sam's kind of popping in there when she can. So, cool. Scream 3 and Candyman Farewell to the Flesh with Brendan from Our Life is Horror coming up later this week. So, yeah, some good stuff coming. We're also getting closer to the award show that I get lucky enough to be a part of with Our Life in Horror and Critic After Dark. So definitely go check out their links and vote if you haven't already. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming. If you haven't subscribed, do so you don't miss anything. Hit the like button today. Leave Isaiah and I some comments and let us know what you think about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Which end of the scope are you on? Do you love it, really enjoy it? Or are you one of those like me that struggles with it a little bit? So one of the things that I really appreciate about the horror community is that, people can like their own thing and generally not get upset with each other for not liking something. Yeah. There's a few out there, but for the most part, the horror community is very accepting, and I like hearing all the different opinions, and I love the interaction. So leave me some comments, follow me on social media. And yeah, Isaiah, thank you again so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll schedule something for Texas Chainsaw 3 and then Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey pretty soon.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you, Sean. And if you watch my videos on my channel, I am much better lit normally.
Yeah, he's just kind of giving us a blue look. This is what he's like in his private time. Yeah,
exactly. I turned blue for you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thank you everybody so much for watching. Again, I'll be back in a couple of days with Brendan, and we'll talk Scream 3. See you soon.